What's going on, everyone? Greg Helbeck here, and on today or this week's REI deal breakdown, I'm going to share with you a rental property that I bought and did the BRRRR method on. Buy, rent, renovate, refinance, repeat, whatever it's called. I actually just refinanced the deal yesterday, so it's fresh off the closing, and I'm excited to bring everyone content here. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give it a like. If you're watching this on Instagram or Facebook, please like this and share this when you're done if you think it's worth sharing. So if you're not familiar with me, my name's Greg Helbeck. I've bought and sold well over 100 properties in two of the harder markets, actually three of the harder markets in the United States. And my current business, we buy anywhere from 4 to 7 properties a month. And we do the BRRRR, we do flips, we do wholesale deals. So I've been a full-time real estate investor for a while. So my goal is to provide valuable content, help people in their business. So hopefully you get some value from today's video. And if you do, once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, please like. If you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, if you can share it as well as like it, that'd be greatly appreciated. So today I'm going to talk about a real estate deal. I actually bought the property back in 2021 and I did the BRRRR on it. So this is actually 2720 Whispering Hills in Chester, New York. So this is a 2-bed, 1.5 bath townhouse I bought. The way I found the deal was direct mail. So the owner got a postcard in the mail from me, and he told me he wanted to sell. He had a tenant in there who actually is still on the property. Oh boy. And they weren't paying rent. And they basically he just wanted to get out of there. He knew he couldn't really sell at retail because of the tenant situation. So he was gonna have to sell to a cash buyer. So we negotiated, and we ended up selling on 125, which is a pretty good deal. The property's worth like 250. Actually, it's worth 215. I got the appraisal done about a month ago before I refied. So I bought this thing at a pretty good discount. However, I knew that the tenant was going to be a pain in the ass, and I was going to have to deal with them and do an eviction and all that bullshit. So what ended up happening was in April of 2021, we closed. So I got a hard money loan from Lending Home, formerly Lending Home. Now they're called Kiavi. So they loaned me $115,000. So I borrowed $115,000, had to bring about $15,000 to the table in the difference between what they loaned me and what I was buying it for. So I had to put some skin in the game. Bought the property, closed on it. I still haven't ever seen this property to this day. I've never stepped foot in this property. So it technically could have been anywhere. Just happened to be in my area that I'm from. So anyway, bought the property, immediately reached out to the tenant, and I said, hey, we actually got to meet up because I just bought this property and I heard that you're living there. So they responded to me, and I met the tenant in person, and we sat down, and I basically told them, like, I own the property now, and what are your plans? Are you planning to stay? Are you planning to go? Like, catch me up to speed. They told me they were moving. By the way, that every tenant who is full of shit will always say that. Never believe them, because if they were moving, they would have been out of there already. Said we were moving. I said, okay, well, obviously you're not out of there now, so you're gonna have to pay rent until you move. So they said, okay. I said, well, what were you paying before? And they said $1,100. They said $1,100. I said, all right, whatever, just pay that for now, and then when you get out, whatever, we'll figure it out. They started paying, and I told the tenants that I really don't mind them staying there. They weren't bothering me. They never really gave me any trouble. But I knew I had to refinance this thing because I had a 12-month loan with Kiavi, and it's actually April of 2022 right now. So I knew the loan was going to come due eventually, and I had to refinance. So I said to the tenants about 9 months in, I said, hey, I'm going to need you guys to either pay more in rent or get out, because I'm going to need to do something with the property that's going to require me raising the rent. I didn't want to tell them what I was doing because it's none of their business. But anyway, I said, you got to either get out or pay more in rent. I said, I'll tell you what, guys, because you don't bother me and you're not a pain in the ass, I'll rent you the property for exactly what my all-in payment's going to be. So if it's $1,600, I'll rent it to you for $1,600. If it's $1,700, I don't even care about making cash flow. I said, I'll do you a favor. And they said, all right, that sounds good. By the way, when they say, all right, that sounds good, when you're dealing with a tenant, they're full of shit. Ask me how I know. And I said, all right, well, the payment's going to go up next month. So reached out to the tenant, and the tenant said that, they were not going to pay the increased rent. They said, we're not going to do that. That's ridiculous. You can't increase my rent that much. This property needs work. And I was like, you never even let me inside. Bought this thing sight unseen. So, excuse me, sorry.
How are you?
People here. They made the video. Anyway, so I said, well, listen, if you don't want to pay that rent, I'm going to get an attorney and I'm going to do an eviction and you're going to get kicked out of this property. So you can either, comply or I'm going to get an attorney involved. And once I get an attorney involved, I'm not even going to give you money to leave anymore. You're going to get dragged out by the sheriff if you don't leave. Hired an attorney, got the attorney involved. We served them a letter stating that they have to leave in 90 days. I collected rent in the meantime. And actually, in that process, I refinanced the property. So I bought the thing for $115. I got it appraised. I bought it for $125. It got appraised for $215. And then I went to a local bank and I told them I wanted to do a cash out refi. And they told me they'd give me $145,000 of cash out refi proceeds because the property's worth $215. I said, okay. So at the end of the day, after all the closing costs and bullshit fees, I ended up putting I picked up the check today actually for $19,000. I had about $22,000 into it, so I'm still in the deal for about $3,000-ish. So I have $3,000 of my own money into this house now and refinanced. So let's just basically say I got most of my money out, if not all of it. $3,000 is really not that much compared to the value of the property. So just got the proceeds today, so that's a solid win. And I, we're in the middle of doing the eviction right now. So we just filed the motion to go to court. So hopefully in the next 2 months, these idiots are out of the property. I don't plan to give them a single dollar because they had a good opportunity and they blew it and they had a bad attitude. So quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. And they're gonna get kicked out. That's the bottom line. So once they're out of there, I'm going to update the property with the refi proceeds. So I'm going to put money back into the property. So I'm probably going to end up having about $25,000 of my own money into this property. So like my all-in basis will be about $25,000. Property will rent out for about $2,000 a month. And then my all-in payment, including the HOA, because it is a townhouse, is going to be about $1,800. So it'll make about $200 a month in cash flow, which isn't amazing. But if you really look at it, like that loan that I got is a 15-year fully amortized loan. So in 15 years, the property will be paid off. It'll be free and clear. I'm going to make cash flow in the meantime. I'm going to make about $200 a month after all the expenses and HOA fees and all that crap. And I'm going to be building equity. I'm going to be paying the principal down. And every year the thing hopefully will go up in value. And I still have $70,000 in equity, like as of this video, because of the refi loan is about 70% of the value. So all in all, solid win. Looking forward to keeping this thing as a rental, getting some real tenants in there who are going to appreciate the property, not these other bozos. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So some lessons from this deal. Number one, if you're going to do the BRRRR strategy, which is what I did here, I haven't rehabbed. So I did like the reverse BRRRR. I did the refinance and I've been collecting rent and I bought it. You got to know what you're doing and you got to really know your numbers. And I have found that from my experience, if you're going to do the BRRRR, you need to get the property cheaper than you would if you're doing a flip, because you got to account for closing costs on the refinance, you got to account for a rehab that usually is going to go over budget, and you got to make sure the property is going to cash flow at least a little bit. You don't want to buy a property that is going to cost you money every month. So if you're doing the BRRRR, you really got to have your stuff dialed in. You got to know your numbers. You generally buy it cheaper than you do a flip because there's a lot of costs involved. I personally only like to refi up to 70% because I don't want to have too much leverage. I always want to have equity in my properties. In the event that I want to sell them, I can actually make a good profit. So yeah, make sure you know what you're doing when you're doing the BRRRR. If you're flipping houses and you're watching this, or if you're wholesaling houses and you're watching this, rentals are a pain in the ass, but I'll tell you what, if you look at them from a long-term perspective, they're a home run and it's hard to lose, in the long term. So hope you got value from this video. If you did, subscribe if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook or Instagram, like it. If you're also on YouTube, if you can like it. I'll keep putting these videos out, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace.